the Temple Owls. Joining us today to break it all down for you, two-time national championship coach, second all-time active winning head coach in college football. Ladies and gentlemen, head coach for the Temple Owls, KC Keeler.
Yeah,
There we go. Hey, guys.
coach.
Appreciate you coming on today. I know you got a busy schedule, so we won't take up too much of your time. Coach, we've got a list of your accomplishments here. You've had one heck of a career so far, and the transition you've had from the FCS to the FBS has been one of a kind as well. Over 270 career wins. You have a 97-39 record at Sam Houston. Have you had the time to just sit back and reflect on everything you've accomplished so far?
I don't think so, because when you take over a job like Temple, and there's a lot of moving parts, you just dive right into it, and it's been amazing. The job, I thought this was going to be a great job. It's even beyond what I thought it was going to be. The resources we have and the recruiting territory that I know is one of the best in the country. It's been awesome. So year one is done. Made improvement in terms of our record, where we've been in the past. But one of the things we did, which I think is kind of unique, is I don't cut players. So like we had 30 seniors or so that wanted to get this Temple degree. And so one of the things that we did was we made sure they got that Temple degree. So the improvement you saw in the field was really more culture than talent. Now we have had a chance to add talent. Our recruiting department did a phenomenal job. We had the number one high school class in the league, and we had the number one high school transfer combined class in the league. Plus, we're probably the only team in this level not to lose a single starter to the portal. We feel really good that we have a chance moving into year two to be much improved.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned recruiting in the Northeast. I saw you in a press conference, I believe last year, talking about the transition from recruiting in Texas at Sam Houston versus recruiting in the areas of Ohio, Pennsylvania, those areas. On that note, Rooster's got a question for you, Coach. Go ahead, Rooster.
Coach, we know you're from Emmaus, Pennsylvania. How big of a factor did returning home play in your decision to come back and rebuild the program at Temple?
Yeah, so I got recruited here. It was 1977, and I'm a senior in high school, and I come and meet the great Wayne Harden, Hall of Famer, legend, and we're talking about golf in my exit meeting, and I'm confused because I don't play golf. I'm 17 years of age. I want to talk about football, and I find out later that they had filled up, and so I never got a chance to go to Temple, but quickly transitioned, and I got down to the University of Delaware and had a great career there. And I loved my experience. He cut me open, I bleed blue and gold. But I got a chance to see Temple firsthand by playing against them. And the very first year we played, 1978, undefeated Delaware goes in to play at the Vet against Temple. And it was just a different brand of football. It was just such a physical brand of football, and they just took us apart. And I remember that for the rest of my life. And the next year we win the national championship at Delaware. We go 13-1. Our loss was to Temple. So I've seen the greatness firsthand. And so, coming back, I thought I could make an impact. Also, it was great coming back because I have 3 grandchildren over in Wilmington, Delaware. And getting a chance to come back and being part of that was a big deal for my wife and I.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned Delaware. You bleed blue and gold, and Delaware's got a great program themselves. And we know that you had the chance to coach one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time there, and Joe Flacco, Super Bowl winning MVP. Can you talk about what it was like coaching him? Did you learn a lot from that experience? Is that kind of the shape and mold into what you look for in a quarterback today? And do you still
Yeah.
keep up with him?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably last time I saw Joe in person, I think was in Texas. The Broncos were playing the Texans. He wasn't playing; he was injured. My wife and I got a chance to spend some time with him on the sideline. He and I text back and forth when it's appropriate, when something's going on. Just a phenomenal human being. And I remember after he got drafted by the Ravens, he came back and we're sitting in my office. We're talking. I said, Joe, listen, I said, I know I'm going to be doing a bunch of talks to businesses and youth groups and, all those kind of things. And like, just tell me, like, everyone's going to want to know, like, what made you great? What made you different? And he didn't blink. He goes, I'm not afraid to fail. And so I've always taken that. And it's always a story I tell my teams about how, one of the great players, obviously in Delaware's history and, and obviously, NFL MVP, he thought what made him special was he wasn't afraid to fail. But one of the things I learned too was, and it's always sort of been a philosophy, but it was really accentuated when we had Joe, was, the quarterback touches the ball 100% of the time. So like if you're putting together an offense, you need to put that offense around his skill set. And in 2003, we won the national championship with a guy named Andy Hall, 5th-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles. And Andy was very athletic, really, killed you with his legs, but also could throw the football. And our offense was built a little differently. Then when we get Joe, we're like, yeah, Joe can do some of these things, but is that the best way to accentuate his ability? And so we, quickly, Kirk Shiraka, who's now the O coordinator at Rutgers, and I quickly tweaked the offense and just accentuated in my mind, like, yeah, you have two great players like that, Andy Hall and Joe Flacco. And, if you can get a great quarterback, boy, you need to really accentuate, what their skill set is. And so it's something I've always believed in. And then it came to fruition when I was at Delaware with having two such different athletes. One really comfortable sitting in the pocket and chucking it, and then using his legs when he had to. The other one where you wanted to get him on the run, you wanted to run the ball with him with that +1 quarterback run game. So, yeah, I mean, I think, having those kind of quarterbacks makes you, grow and change your philosophy as you go along.
Speaking of Super Bowl quarterbacks, Rooster's got a question for you, Coach. Go ahead, Rooster.
Coach, we saw Jalen Hurts was in the building a couple days ago on social media. Was he able to talk with the team, and did he share any advice to the players this upcoming season?
Yeah, so we were done with spring ball, and our guys are just basically, in the weight room for a couple more weeks. So when he came in to town was at a time when we didn't really have our players like around. And I mean, this was all about him getting ready for next year. And I didn't want to inundate him with, hey, come to talk to the team. But we had a couple of our former players who are NFL level guys running routes for him. And we made our indoor facility available for him, and even set up some security because, like, it's so funny. The first time he, came to work out in the indoor, someone saw him walk in, and a student, and all of a sudden there must have been text messages going to students who are in the facility taking class. And by the time he leaves, there's a mob out there, and he said to me, he goes, "Is this for me?" I said, "It's not for me." So, and he was great. He rolled down his window and he, waved everybody and gave him a honk. But it was so classic. Nico, my chief of staff, he was kind of manning one of the doors, and one of the kids, were like, "Listen, we don't want to make a big deal. We want him to feel comfortable. He can come here anytime." And the young man said, "Just tell me, is it true? Is it? Just tell me. I don't even have to look. Just tell me, is it true?" So, Jalen's a big deal, quarterback of Super Bowl, and he was Super Bowl MVP. And he worked out at our indoor, and then he was down here at the EO, our practice complex, working out here also. So it was great having him. And again, we wanted to kind of, give him a safe space that he could go and work out and not have mobs of people around.
Speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about your transfers coming in. We saw Jackson Smolik had one heck of a spring game. And then you also got another transfer quarterback in Ajani from Washington State. Can you talk about your quarterback room as it stands right now and what kind of you've seen this spring?
Yeah, boy, you talk about two guys pushing each other. And, depends on what day it was, who was having the better day. I think Jackson had the better spring game, but it was going back and forth between the two. And they both are great competitors. They both are great teammates to each other. When Johnny makes a play, Jackson's there tapping him on the butt, vice versa. cheering each other on. They're also making each other better by just how they compete. Yeah, really happy with both of them. Jackson had a really outstanding spring game. I think he threw like 80%. Pulled the ball down, made some runs. He's a guy who's an Elite 11 quarterback. Got to Penn State. Was always in the battle for that number 2 spot. Had some injuries. The Penn State guys love him. The people that we spoke to at Penn State felt like he could play at their level. It's just the injury sort of, held him back. Felt he had to get someplace like Temple where he could, get a fresh start and be the starter. So that, sort of his story. And then Johnny is, was at Rutgers. I remember getting a phone call from Kirk Shiraka because he thought we were involved with the Johnny at the time, and we weren't. And he was like, I don't want to lose this kid. I mean, he is, kind of guy that we need to have on our roster at Rutgers. And I really respect Kirk a lot. And so I know if Kirk really, felt he was going to, have a chance to contribute there, I knew that, he'd have a chance to contribute at our place. And we got Johnny in, and he just felt like there was a better opportunity at Washington State to get on the field right away and play. And he got there and got hurt, broke a clavicle. And so kind of was on the sideline all of last year. And so when he became available, we were like, yeah, come back home. And he's a New York kid. I think it's Bronx, New York. Come back home. And, and he did. And it's really been a great 1-2 combination in terms of those guys battling each other. And they're going to battle all the way through the summer.
Yeah, Coach, let's transition to the returning starters for a minute. You have 9 returning starters this year, I believe, and you've got quite a bit on the offense. You've got 4 starting offensive linemen coming back. It's got to feel pretty good heading into this fall. What have you seen from those guys?
Yeah, then you take Luke Watson, who started for Temple 2 years ago, had a knee injury, missed last year, 100% now. He looked really good out there in the spring. So you almost get like a 5th starter. And I tell you what, I think one of the positions we were really concerned with was the defensive line because the number of guys we lost. And we've improved the talent dramatically on the defensive line. And so now you talk about iron sharpening iron. Oh, it's been some great battles back and forth with the offensive line and the defensive line. So we are greatly improved from where we were last year as an offensive line. At the same time, they've been battling with that defensive line. And one of the unique things, I think I said this earlier, was we didn't lose a single starter to the portal, and so that gives us, I think, such a great advantage that our best players decided to stay. And then you add a tight end like Peter Clark, who I believe if Peter went in this year's draft, I believe Mel Kiper would have had him at number 10 tight ends. And here's a guy that obviously got a lot of Power 4 kind of interest and money thrown at him. And I think it just spoke volumes that he decided to stay here at Temple. So again, I think we have a pretty good core up front with basically 5 returning starters coming back, and then I got a tight end like Peter Clark, who I thought had a pretty physical spring, and that's kind of where he needs to, raise his level of play in terms of if he wants to be a top 2 or 3 round pick. He needs to be able to put his hand in the dirt and even play at a more physical brand that he played last year, because boy, he'll catch the ball. He runs great routes. He's hard to bring down. He's a threat in the passing game. I thought he really improved his blocking this year to give us, a real threat in the run game too.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the offense. Is there anyone that sticks out on the defense? Any young guys that are making their way up that you've seen really elevate their game in the spring so far?
Well, I tell you, first of all, there is a veteran coming back. I thought Eric Stewart, our Mike linebacker, had a phenomenal spring. He was still playing with some injuries last year. Curly Ordonez, he was probably one of the best players in this league at playing at the will spot, and Eric was playing at the Mike, and didn't quite have the year we thought he was going to have. Now he's 100% healthy. He was running around all over the field. So having those two at the linebacker spot, we feel really good about. I'd say, if new names, Kevin Hornbeck. Kevin really had a phenomenal spring. Here's a guy who was got him from Tifton, played high school quarterback, was a shot putter, and then he plays football his last 2 years, and we get him to Temple, and boy, he's been just phenomenal. And then Jalen Joseph, a guy out of Lafayette in Easton, Pennsylvania, that's actually a Texas guy, North Shore, Texas, which is one of the great high school programs in the country. We got him to come over, and I don't know if we blocked him yet. We call our rush, and boy, he was really explosive. So, some old and some new, but I do like, what we've added there. Caleb Artis came in from Penn State, had a really, really good spring. So again, I think we've added some talent there, and we feel we have 10 strong that can play on the defensive line right now.
I keep hearing you mention physical play, toughness, and we know that your slogan for the team is hashtag TempleTuff. In your words, in your mind, what does it mean to be Temple Tough?
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. When I first took over here, I was trying to hire an offensive coordinator, and I'm talking to Tyler, and I said to Tyler, I said, listen, I said, you come to Temple, and it's 4.5 yards, and you put 5 wide receivers on the field, we're not going to get out of that stadium alive. I said, Temple Tough means we're gonna go get that yard somehow, some way. And it's something that from the moment I got here has been, and we lean into it. We do. We really lean into the Temple Tough. And so it's just a mentality that we're not going to look at the scoreboard. We're going to play to the very end. Whatever the final score is, it is. And a great example of that Temple Tough was last year in our last game of the season. We're playing a very good North Texas team, and they're getting after us pretty good the first half. And I brought the boys up, and we kind of knew like this might be our last shot ever together as a team for that 2025 team. And I said, listen, no one else except for the guys in this locker room are going to remember if we go out and win the second half. I said, but that's who we have to be. We might not be able to win this game, but let's try to get back in it and just one snap at a time. But let's go win the second half. If we go win the second half, we're all going to be able to look at each other in the eye and say, you know what, this team never quit. And we went and won the second half 18-17. And that was such a big deal for the guys in that locker room because that's what Temple Tough is. It doesn't matter the circumstances. We're just going to keep on coming at you and keep on playing. And that's who we are. So it's something we lean into, and I think our play will show that. I thought it was a really physical spring, maybe as physical a spring as I've ever been around. And a lot of that was having the 5 basic starters on the O-line coming back, and we brought some transfer guys in who played really well too. We feel we have 8 on the O-line. We feel really good. We can play 2 centers. We feel really good. We can play 3 guards. We feel really good. We can play 3 tackles. So that, along with Peter, and then against a really good defensive line, it was really a physical match every single time we scrimmage. Boy, those guys went after each other. So, there's definitely a Temple Tough mentality around this program.
Yeah, Coach, we really appreciate you coming on today. We know you got a busy schedule. One last quick question for you. What can the fans expect this year in 2026 from the Temple Owls?
Yeah, I think you'll see an offense that, is bringing back a bunch of talent. And obviously the O-line and the great tight end is part of it. But JoJo Bermudez is going to be as good a wide receiver there is in this league. And also as a punt returner. And we got a running back, Sam Brown, that came in from Rutgers, who had a great spring, and then Kavion Mason's, battling him for that starting job. Colin Chase comes back to the starter as a wide receiver. We got Jace Freeman from up there at Stony Brook. He's had a phenomenal spring. So I like the talent level we have on offense. Defensively is going to be where, could we fill those holes with all the guys we lost in the secondary and all the guys we lost in the D-line? I think we did. And that's why there's been great battles. So I think you're going to see a really physical brand of football and a team that I think, because of the number of starters we have coming back and because how high rated our recruiting class was, I think it's a team that can compete with everybody in this league. Where last year I wasn't sure we could. The Tulanes, the North Texases, the Memphis, those kind of people were just above us. South Florida's, I think right now we feel like we can go battle anybody and feel like, on any given Saturday we can come out the winner.
We know you embody the slogan Temple Tough, and we appreciate you joining the show today, Coach. One last thing. Can you look in the camera and tell the fans it's time to break the huddle?
It's time to break the huddle.
Ladies and gentlemen, head coach of the Temple House, Coach KC Keeler.
Yeah, coach.
All right, thanks, guys.